Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jenny from the Chopping Block. I just want to thank Sylvia for joining us today. It's such an honor, privilege, and pleasure to be able to connect with you. And I just want to say, like, sometimes, you connect with people and you wonder, like, how did I get to Sylvia, right? And it's like maybe because it's my frequency, maybe it's because of the questions that I'm asking currently. Maybe it's God's plan. You don't know how these things always happen. But just to take the time to be grateful and to be able to share everything we're going to talk about today with you. And Sylvia, we didn't talk backstage too much about healing. Um, we didn't touch on that yet, but I do want to start with that because I think that's one of the main things. I see that you're a healer, a light worker, and I just want to hear maybe what you're like, how that came about, like what started that journey for you. Was that like from the beginning when you were born? Like, how did that all happen?
Oh, thanks. There are so many healers. We all have our own stories. We're all wounded healers, it seems to be.
Mhm.
So yeah, just a lifetime of a childhood of misery, and then when I was about 12, I had this kind of spark in me that said, you know what, I would really love to do. It felt impossible, but I'd really love to have a healing influence somehow. And I started kind of studying those things, but it seemed like, no, it's too much. It's impossible. And then when I was about 24, I had a big catalytic event in my life, and it was like, okay. And I went to massage school, and that really was the beginning for me. And I'm about 31 years in now. So massage, energy healing, and just when you're on that path, it means that you're on the accelerated path for yourself, your own healing, and it's a beautiful and rich and challenging life path, and I love it.
Absolutely. And I just want to ask you a few questions. Like, so do you, like you said, at 12, you realized, like, how could I help? Maybe that was like a question you asked, or how could I embrace this side of me to like give, or
Yeah.
maybe what question you came to at that point?
Oh, that's a great question, Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah, questions really guide us, don't they? It's like you find these little sparks inside of you where you start wondering something. I wonder what's possible, and I wonder what kind of service I could be in the world, and I wonder what I'm made for. I don't think I had a way to articulate that at the moment, but I think that was really what was going on at a deeper level. But who am I?
Yeah.
Especially as a young person, we have a lot of that.
Mhm.
And over decades, we learn who and then the what to do about it. And yeah. And inquiry cards really came from my healing practice because I started to learn how questions open up space where there hasn't been space. Also, as an introvert, they really helped me find ways to connect with people
Beautiful.
because I had a really hard time like being seen. So I found that if I asked people a question and they would start to open up, it's like, oh, that's magic. That's powerful.
Mhm.
What can I do with that? So really being a student of questions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then what got you into the physical side of healing? Like, because there's different modalities of healing. Like, what made it, like, what was your why on like getting into massage therapy? Like, how do you think that helps people the most?
Well, I think that's one of those things where you find kind of how you're made, and my love language is touch.
Me
That's my
too.
number one. So yeah, it's like, oh, really? I could touch people? I could have a license to touch people?
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and I need that. I mean, that was part of the wounding is I didn't get enough of that. So just having that for myself and realizing what an absolutely primary need it is.
Mhm.
So yeah, having my hands on somebody is just heaven.
I thank you for being vulnerable and telling us about the childhood that maybe wasn't ideal. Um, and
Yeah.
if there's anything you want to share on that, like whatever maybe brought, like what you could maybe thank your past for now from bringing you where you are now.
Oh, I am so grateful that I was a misfit. I just look back and say, oh, thank God I did not fit in,
Mhm.
which at the time was painful, but now it's like, oh, to be honest about who I was, even when I didn't know. And, I grew up in a very small religious town in Utah. And it's like now who I know I am, I was like, oh, that was never going to work. Yeah. And in a family too, where it's so common that parents and family members don't really get who you are and don't really see who you are. It happens a lot, and rarely, and sometimes in a wonderful way, it does happen. And we can be grateful for those relationships. But as I look at, so many families, because as a healer, I've worked with thousands of people, and it seems very rare that families really get somebody. And that just gives us an opportunity to find who we are and have somebody else see us.
Yeah. It goes into like relationships too. Like that's one of our biggest ways to grow, right?
Absolutely.
Hear
Yeah.
each other and understand and grow and learn through the interactions. Like I always think we pick our family.
Yeah.
We say we don't pick our family, but do we? Maybe on another
mystery,
right? But we definitely get
yeah.
to pick our chosen family, right? I like to say.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's, like-minded, like-hearted people, right?
Yeah. And, who says we're supposed to show up in this world and not have challenges and not get wounded? And that seems to be what happens.
Mhm. And I know we spoke about love languages. I wanted to ask you, like, I remember we talked about backstage, like something we wanted to talk about within the love language thing. I think it was the gift giving. If you want to
Oh,
get into
sure.
that a little.
Yeah. So gift giving is my least love language.
What is it? Acts of service, physical.
Words of affirmation, quality time.
That's my other one, quality time.
Yeah. Touch. And I think I'm forgetting one.
Gifts.
Yes. There you go. Exactly. Right. So it's like, it just doesn't come easily to me. And I mean, right now we're in the holidays, so that's a thing. And I mean, it's a wonderful, I love what gifts are, but actually kind of coming up with gifts around a certain season or for a certain reason just has always felt really hard to me.
Oh.
So that's one thing I do with my deck of inquiry cards. So inquiry cards is a deck that I created. And the different thing about this deck is that it asks you the questions because the answers are inside you. Mm-hmm. So we are in the habit, we humans, of looking outside of ourselves. That's how we get conditioned, right? Mm-hmm. Everything's out there. We're looking for it. We're looking for love. We're looking for power. We're looking for money. All of that seems to be out there. And so because that's what we're used to doing, and that's actually not what works best, is questions are a great way to train ourselves to come back to where the wisdom really lives inside of us. Mm-hmm. So inquiry cards are a very simple tool to do that, because we tend to have the same thoughts a lot. Mm-hmm. And they loop around and around, and we kind of, bang our heads against the same things over and over. But if you ask a different question, wow, then there's some different possibilities and some different spaces. So one easy way to use these is if you've got a challenge, you can just come pick a card, and then you can, this is kind of backwards, and then you can direct that question. You can direct the question. So this one is actually a bee on a flower.
Beautiful.
Yeah, a little bit fuzzy there. Yeah, they're all nature images, but these are all things that our subconscious recognizes.
What is my heart saying?
Yeah, if I can get the focus there. Right. So like you might have, and actually, do you want to just do this now and then we can talk about gifts in a minute, Jennifer?
I would love to. Absolutely.
Okay, great. A really simple and powerful way to use questions is to direct them at anything that you are working on anything that's weighing heavy on you. I mean, we all have things going on
All
at any given, all of the time, right?
the work we do, there's always a way to go.
Yeah, there's always something going on with relationships, with ourselves, with, we're always in the process of growing, or life is bringing us opportunities to grow.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to invite you and everybody that's with us to go ahead and just bring to mind something that you have on your heart or mind that you would really love some movement with, some healing with, some breakthrough with. I'm going to join you in that. Okay, so hold that. And then on behalf of all of us, I'm going to pull a card over here. Okay. And hold it up to the camera. Okay, so holding that thought, that issue, yeah. So what's the healthy choice? So go ahead and just look at this card. It's a beautiful image. It does a good whole brain thing. What's the healthy choice? Pause. Ask that question to yourself. And then direct this question to the issue that you had called to mind. And pause and listen. Yeah. So feel that space.
Mm-hmm.
So right as you finish the question, there's a space. What's the healthy choice? And as you stay with that, you're basically inviting your deeper inner wisdom, your subconscious, your higher self, all of those parts of us that are deeper than the conscious mind. And things start to arise, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're willing to share, Jennifer, I'd love to hear what you get when you ask that question. What's the healthy choice? Not that you need to share what the issue is, but you can just share any impressions you get.
Absolutely. So I closed my eyes because I wanted to feel it. And I was I'm in such a good space, a peak state from all the work I've been doing the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I sat in, I realized there is something that I could do better, right? Maybe that's a question that I'm asking myself subconsciously, but just within different relationships, with, say, my sister or some of my friends, how could I show up better? And then there was some other stuff that came up through just trusting others and just trusting men that came up.
Right.
And how could I best support others? I think that was the question on the question, if that makes any sense.
Yes. That's great. So it's kind of this ripple effect that you noticed of one kind of thought or impression leading to another one there. Beautiful. Well, with that, I love that that's what happened for you. We can do what I call vein of gold. That's one of the easy ways to use these questions. And that is you pull one card with one question and then you pull another one. Okay. So let's just play with that and go ahead and keep that thing in your mind that you had to begin with. You're wondering, your issue, something you want some shift around. Okay, and I pull another one. Okay, so this is what we got. Interesting, right? What needs to be completed? So let's give this a full few breaths here. What needs to be completed? Just noticing what you notice. Sometimes the answers come in as kind of a flash. Sometimes they come in gradually and then get more clear over time. Depends on how you're made. it could be a word, it could be an image, it could be a feeling, right? There's so many ways that we get information and receive. So what I love about using questions in this way is that it's such a beautiful pattern interrupt.
Mhm.
That's part of what the patterns on these cards are about. So it's not the usual. It's not just a leaf you're looking at here. It's a mandala that's
Love
balanced, and they're all things from nature. So like for me, when I sat with that question just now, I realized, wow, that is like nothing I ever would have thought of in relationship to that issue.
Mhm.
Right? It's like, yes, very different. And what's great is when you stay with a question, even though you may not see a really obvious connection right away, when you stay with it, it's like, whoa, okay, now I'm starting to see things from a very different perspective.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what did you notice?
When it says like, what do you need to do to complete it?
Yeah.
I just thought about what needs to be completed. I thought about tracing it back to like my first memory of the question. And like it's so funny, like doing my first memory as a child, I remember being in a playpen thinking, get me the hell out of here, right? As a baby.
Uh-huh.
Smells and like I know people are having fun outside. But that's just an example of like how I can maybe use my first memory from when I felt this emotion with the question, the first thing, and maybe go back and talk with that little one.
Uh-huh.
um,
Uh-huh.
so I thought that was what came to me for this to be completed.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Yeah, and what I noticed was that what I got, I tend to see words. That's one of the ways I get information. So what I saw was what needs to be completed is old stories.
Yes.
And then I saw a book closing. It's like, oh, that story can really be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I can even be done with the book.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
So that was fun. And for anybody that's playing along with us, please comment.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's happening for you when you direct these questions at something that has been ready and ripe for change.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I love that. I'm going to keep that with me because there's a lot of stuff I think, closing, whether it's us as a collective or just like in my own life, that I think that's a great analogy to be like, all right, this is not only the end of a chapter, maybe it's the end of that book and I could start a new one and rewrite the trajectory of whatever I want.
Yes, very much so. And sometimes we forget that's an option.
Mm-hmm.
But we can remember that. So yeah, that's a really simple way to use questions. Another great way would be when you are faced with a decision. It's one of my favorite go-tos. Is what I do is, and this is in the guidebook for inquiry cards. So say, for example, do you have any pressing decisions right now, Jennifer?
I guess where I'm going to live next.
Oh, perfect example. Okay, awesome. And have you identified kind of options at this point?
I'm in that process right now, like just going and seeing places and kind of seeing what kind of lifestyle maybe changes or just what kind of styles, what is a must-have, what's, that kind of stuff.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Well, let me give you some ideas here. Okay. Now you're kind of at the pre-choice point where you are feeling like you want to move and you're gathering information. So you could draw questions around that, right? Mm-hmm. And once you get to the point where you have identified some options, let's say San Francisco is one. And let's say, can you give me another one?
Colorado.
Okay. All right. Great. So let's say San Francisco or Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing you could do is do a layout where you basically say, I pull some cards without looking, and I have two positions, okay? And I say, this position in the layout, it's mirror is just tricky here for me. Okay, so let's say this position is San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this position is Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So you pull the cards in those spots and then you flip it over. And so this is the question you're going to direct towards
Oh,
San
wow.
Francisco.
Okay.
Okay, so what do I value? So as you stay with that, what do I value? What do I value in a place that I live?
I'm gonna write. I'll rewatch.
Yeah. You want to go deeper with that. That's great.
Mhm.
So, you might realize, oh, what's really important to me is community or the climate or the neighborhood. Or it just starts giving you a lot of good information. So then for Colorado, you flip it over and you direct this question at the Colorado. See how different that is?
Oh, yeah.
And just asking the question, where is the best place for me to live?
Mm-hmm.
So you can keep going with that. I mean, what I hear from a lot of folks who love to use these is that when you have a kind of what we would call a problem and you just keep engaging with more questions, it changes and it morphs and you get clarity. And like what I hear from people is that like if they pull a few cards on something, there's no more problem.
Yeah.
Unravel those knots in a
Mm-hmm.
really sweet way. And you're the one doing it.
So beautiful.
So
Thank
it's
you.
not a should, it's not somebody else telling you what you should do. It's like finding what's true for you.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for being willing to play.
And thank you. And like, what do you think like stops us from like automatically asking these questions, just like intuitively?
Well, I don't think we have a great vocabulary of questions. I just don't think we've learned that.
Why do you think?
Because
I feel like a little kid. Why?
that's great. Curiosity is a wonderful thing. I love that question. I mean, what I see is that we have habitual questions.
Yeah.
What should I do is one that I hear a lot
Mm-hmm.
from people, and then I'm always looking for, okay, so what's a better question? Another question that I think is just a dead end that I think often we go to at times of despair is why me?
Yeah. I do that.
Yeah, and I think we've all had that experience where we take something personally that's happening. And why is this happening to me? Well, why not?
Yeah.
Why not you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when we get more fluid with our questions, we get more fluid with our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another reason why these are a good tool is because they can train us. Like I literally have this deck in my subconscious now.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Right? And so when I am faced with something, sometimes I'll just pause and it's like my little Rolodex will give me a new question.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun to play that way.
Beautiful.
Like the other day that happened to me and I don't think I was even like saying, okay, now ready, set, go. It was just more like, I just saw this question. What am I committed to? Was the question.
So it's like you're reprogramming with the images and the card and practicing this.
Right. So it's like learning how to ask better questions and making that a habit. Because whenever we're stuck, chances are there's a question that's underneath what's happening that is not a great question. And with a little kind of exploration and discovery, we can find what's really under that.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just I haven't done a giveaway in a while. So I just want to say that not only am I going to get a deck for myself, but the first person who comments in the comments that's interested or maybe has a problem or something that you just found awesome about this, the first person to comment, I will also send you the deck as well.
Oh, how sweet. Thank you for gifting someone that. That's going to be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Oh, so yeah, back to the gift thing we were talking about, right? So we can use questions to actually help us come up with more meaningful gifts when we do give. So we might kind of go to default questions like, what's my budget? Right? Which is a great question.
Then.
Yeah. Or, what can I get so-and-so?
Or Secret Santa. Like I have my girls, my girlfriends, we all do a group. This year we're doing like Secret Santa. So I have like a $50 budget for it, which might be hard when you have that limit to light somebody up, right? Or is it?
And you want to do something meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So can we take a few minutes and actually play with this?
I would love to.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to invite everybody who's with us, and thank you for hanging with us and being willing to explore self-inquiry. So what I invite you to do is get a piece of paper or your digital paper, and we're actually going to play with a really simple process that can help you generate some wonderful gift ideas. And it can also train your mind to ask better questions so that whenever you do come up with a situation where you're gifting, you can use these questions. So you got your paper. So we're not going to ask, what can I get so-and-so? Because that is, it's like, it's not a dead end question, but it's also not a very illuminating question. Right. So a little better way. And I've done this with friends before, and it's like, oh my gosh, we just come up with so many good ideas. So we know it's really not about the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We know that really what it's about is having that feeling and giving that feeling that this person, that you cherish them, that they are loved in a way that you put time and attention and resources. And it's about gifts that really connect. I mean, I think that's what we're doing, or that's what we're trying to do when we give gifts, is we want to really have that sense of a heartfelt connection. So here are some questions that will help us find those. So now, usually inquiry cards are directed inwards to yourself, but in this case, we're going to fill in the blank with a name. So I'm going to come up with a name here. I'm just going to say Jim is my person. So here is a question that we can start with. What delights Jim? So as you're thinking about this person, and it's a love practice to even be thinking about this person, right? Right. So what delights? And I don't know if you want to say your name that you're thinking about a gift for. What delights? And just fill in their name. And you'll probably think of some times when you've seen them being delighted.
Oh.
And what was happening when they were delighted.
Got it.
It's such fun to see someone when they're in delight. What was happening? And when you were talking to them, what gets them excited? All right. Great. Okay. So the next one, this is similar to delight, but a little bit different. What inspires? And then fill in their name. What inspires Jim? When have you seen them inspired? And it's probably things that they talk about frequently. See, people leave us clues. This is really helpful for me, not being a person with the love language of gift giving. Like, okay, how can I come up with these things? Okay, here's another one. I'm going to clear my throat. What does Jim value? And we can see clues about this in people's lives, where they spend their time, where they spend their money, where they put their energy in their life. What do you notice about that?
This is so cool.
It is fun, and it's like, things we didn't think about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So here's the last one. There's just 4 questions. So the next one is, what does so-and-so need? What does Jim need?
Aw, this is so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. So, is there something they need and maybe don't have? Or maybe something they need that they don't even realize they need? Right? So, here you've noticed what delights them, what inspires them, what do they value, and what do they need? And so, like you spend 5 minutes with these questions and you can generate some ideas. So what's happening over there, Jennifer?
So I did too. This season is so funly busy.
Yeah.
I have like my best friend's birthday, my father, my beloved's father. I have my, like I said, the Secret Santa.
Yeah.
Thankfully for my immediate family, we're going to Disney World this year instead of giving gifts, but maybe
Nice.
get something small for the trip,
Uh-huh.
But I came up with and I wonder where that comes from, like thinking about what delights, inspires, their values, right? Because sometimes it might be hard to guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a really good picture. I just wrote down maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, like 10 things for each, and I came up with a gift for one person.
Right.
And I'm still gonna work on the other person, but I feel like for me, I like
Right.
to get little thing, like a couple of things, not just like one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can see how it starts to generate the ideas from different angles. So you
Mm-hmm.
can start to really get more of a feel. And then it also makes it more fun because now you're thinking about, oh, right, I saw them light up about that. What could I get? Right. So it's like the process of it has more love and more delight in it for you. And good point where you brought up, it's like you may not know some of this about some of the people, and that's actually fine. That's no problem. If you don't know the answers to what they value or what delights them or any of that, maybe you don't know them well enough to call up some of those. But you can have a sneaky conversation with them.
I literally thought that, which I've already kind of done, but I was like,
Uh-huh.
exactly what she's gonna need right at this current moment.
Right.
Like I said
Right.
earlier, I haven't been able to like fully be present for my bestie, my girls right now.
Right.
So I don't know
Exactly.
what they might need right now.
Exactly. Exactly. But that's a nice reason to have a good deep conversation that where you just say, hey, what's inspiring you lately?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Or I realized I don't think I know what's most important to you.
Aw.
Tell me more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like what really, lights you up? What gets you up in the morning? And everybody likes to share things like that, I think, mostly. Especially with someone they love. So you get to have a meaningful conversation.
Beautiful.
And you get to know more about your loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, then you're like, oh, okay, now I have some more ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you can get to the other questions like, what's my budget, right? Great question. Because, what do they value? What do they need? If your budget's $10, that's different than if it's $100.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Ideally, my budget was, I think the thing that I saw was like 2,000, but I don't know if I could swing that right now.
Right, right. But what's something that has that similar feeling?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is a symbol of that thing,
Mm-hmm.
or could give them a sense of that thing or delight them in. Yeah. It all starts to get clear and gel a little bit more. And then you can ask questions like, well, what's an easier way for me to get these gifts? Because like you need to be in tune with what's true for you too. Like how much time can you put into this,
Mm-hmm.
or what could you simplify? Like your family did, you simplified with
Yeah.
a family trip. It's
Yeah.
great. Everybody get something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always, questions are always a way to open space for creative ideas.
Mm-hmm. And I have a question for like gift giving in general. Like sometimes I realize like sometimes when people gift you a certain way, you could kind of see maybe what they
Yes.
want.
Yes. Give
Like
you clues.
people. Is that
Yes. That's a great point, Jennifer. Yes, you could add that to the list of what has this person given me?
mm-hmm.
And that would probably generate some more clarity. That's a great thought. Yeah. Because we do. We tend to give what we want to get.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, so let's make gift giving more fun and more heart connected, and have those moments where that person receives something that is like, wow, you get me.
Mm-hmm. That's the real gift in it, right?
Yeah.
We think about like, oh, we don't remember all the time. Well, I mean, certain people consistently, like my aunt always gets us jammies, and that's like,
that's her brand.
yeah, and they all match and we love them. And after we eat too much, we put on our jammies, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a beautiful, beautiful gift in itself, just to like think about like, what is that giving us really?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I see in that kind of gift is that it's giving unity.
Yes.
Because you're all putting on the same thing, and then there's this sense of cohesiveness. Like we're all in our jammies. Yeah, that's beautiful. It reminds me of something a kid said once. It was something like, love is what happens on Christmas when you stop opening presents and listen.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's the what's in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet. So yeah, great ways to play with inquiry.
So how did you come up with the questions themselves on the cards?
I just became a student of questions. I was seeing how powerful they are. I noticed, that the people who are really great with questions are people like therapists and coaches and, spiritual leaders. It's that ability to find a question and create an opening and a connection. And I really saw how powerful that is. And I started to collect them. And I started to use them, and I started to notice, like, what's the difference with one word in a question, right? It reminds me of what Albert Einstein said. So, he was a brilliant guy. And he said, if I had an hour to come up with a solution and my life depended on it, I would spend 50 minutes coming up with the right question. Because once I have the right question, then the answer presents itself, basically.
Have you noticed, I just want you to finish your thought there. Didn't mean to.
Yeah, that's it. Just that we can all be students of questions. And it's not that it's about just finding an easy or a quick answer. Sometimes we get those flashes of insight. It's more about living questions and living into questions, because they keep us open. They keep us, we humans and our consciousness tend to harden around things pretty quickly. We think we know something or something works for us, and so then we hang on to it. And questions just keep us more flexible.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed, like within, doing this work for people and gifting them this clarity, have you noticed like different trends? Like when I do interviews, like I've already picked up on a couple of trends, and I think this is the 5th interview on this topic.
Okay.
Have you noticed, like with working with your own, people, have you notice like a common question that we all ask, or something that's actually empowers people the most, or
Oh, you're a good question comer-upper with. That's great. More than it's a beautiful question. More than a specific question in a certain form, what I notice is that it's the people who hold the space of inquiry that have the most kind of rich, dynamic, growth-oriented lives. That's what I see. It's the people who practice good questions and pay attention like you do. I noticed. Right. So, I mean, one way that I hear often is what people do is like they'll draw a question and they will leave it up for a few days, sometimes even months,
Yeah.
right?
I have a sticky note
Because
on my desk.
yes,
Mhm.
because a good question, it's like there's infinite space there.
Mhm.
So a question like, who am I? That lasts a lifetime,
Mhm.
right? What is clear to me? I mean, you could ask that every day.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love that. I really do see that it's the practice of inquiry. I think it was Adyashanti who said something like, question everything.
Absolutely.
Just question everything into utter silence. Something like that. And it distills our lives and our consciousness, and it's yeah, I can't imagine life without great questions.
Mhm. I feel like when you ask somebody like, who are you? Like for me, I'd be like, first thing that would come to mind is like, I am Jenny from the chopping block, right? Just because that's like who I am. Like, and it's just like, it's something that just comes into my mind. Or like, I just went on an interview. Yeah, I've been interviewing the past couple of months. I actually got the job today, got a call. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
But when you're in an interview and you're in front of a board of people and they say, tell me a little bit about yourself. And you're like, oh my God, like how would you approach that question?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I mean, you are a professional question asker.
Mm-hmm.
And the better you are at asking questions, the better interviews you create,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's awesome. I mean, Oprah built an empire by asking good questions. She's a master at asking questions. So what was your question again? Oh,
When someone says, or let's just say, if I asked you, who are you? How would you respond?
well, it depends on the moment.
Yeah.
There's who I think I am, there's who I was yesterday, who am I now? I'm a feeling, I'm a voice, I'm an ambassador of questions right now. Ask me tomorrow, it's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
That is a question that, I mean, that some of the gurus in India, that's the question that leads to enlightenment.
Oh yeah.
When you keep asking, because you go through the layers. Who am I? Who I am that I appear to be? Who am I really? Who am I now? Who have I always been? I mean, that's
I just thought of I am that I am.
yeah. And what is that?
Or just I am, right?
Yeah. I am the space of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. That was amazing. This is one of my favorite interviews ever.
Oh, sweet,
Really
sweet.
appreciate you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, it's a joy to play in this world
Mm-hmm.
of these possibilities. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I wanted to ask you a couple more questions, just about, like, I want to hear more about the Warm Springs Alliance. If you could just tell me, I looked at the website briefly, but I just want to hear from you what is the spring? I know it's local to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being curious. Yeah. So we have a place in Salt Lake City, right in the city. It's just a few blocks from downtown, which is quite extraordinary, where there's a hot spring.
Mm.
And it has been pretty much unused and kind of forgotten for about 50 years. But before that, hot water coming up out of the ground, that's been happening for thousands of years. So the indigenous people were at that site. And then when the European settlers came in, they were sharing the space for a while. And sadly, the measles came in with one of the groups of those settlers and decimated the local tribe. So there's wounding that's happened there. It was a go-to gathering place for 150 years. We have these extraordinary places, and sometimes we forget that we have these sacred, special healing places. So I'm part of a group that's working to bring it back. And there's there's a lot of beautiful questions as part of that. Like, how much good can we do in a place where we could bring community get together, and what can happen differently, or what needs to happen in our society right now that's not happening, and how can we create places for those things to happen? Those are some of our guiding questions. So yeah, I mean, it's Salt Lake City government owns the historic building that's there. There's a beautiful old bathhouse that's been closed for ages. So we want to really bring that back as a center for consciousness shifting, healing, goodness. Yeah. So that's one of the things that inspires me. If you were to ask me what inspires me, it's how do we make change together, one-on-one, person to person? How do we heal collectively? Those kinds of things. So yeah, thanks for asking.
And you're welcome. What do you think about that part of the world is like, is it because it's some, like New York, obviously there's buildings. I hear people walking past my door every second of every day.
Mm-hmm.
But like that, I seem to notice, like I went to Sedona last year, just being in those energy fields, and like, we're planning to go like to where you are, like Utah and South Dakota.
Great.
What do you think about these areas kind of bring that healing energy, or like, is it the nature of it?
I love that question. Yeah, I mean, it feels to me, I'm a sensitive, I pick up things that some people don't. And it feels to me that every place really has a unique energy. And I think what you're kind of alluding to here is like, what is it about the American West? Because it feels very different from the Eastern United States. And you're right. It's like we're clay beings on a vibrating plate, those things where you see the sand that forms a shape based on the vibration that's underneath it. Like, how is the ground vibrating here that shapes who we are? Is kind of one of those things. And the water and the plants and the desert. And yeah, there's something really special about these places. And I don't know that I could even put words to it. I mean, you have to go there.
Can you put words on where you're from? Like originally, like from Utah, like you said, you're from a small town.
Yeah. I'm from a very small town called Ephraim, in smack dab center of Utah, 1,000 people in the town where I grew up. So yeah, I grew up with sagebrush and red rock and yeah, those kind of spaces. And yeah, to me, like the desert feels very cleansing. I mean, we're in the high desert here in Salt Lake, so it's mountainous, but it's still a desert. So we get snow, but it's dry here. So whatever gifts that we have at this elevation, just the planet is so special. I love that you've got the world here with us. Yeah. So things that need to be experienced to really get it. I love how in Europe they treasure their hot springs and they understand them. And I mean, they've been using them nonstop for thousands of years. So like they know what the water is good for at each and every location.
Oh, wow. I would love to learn about that.
Yeah. Like some hot springs, you have to have a prescription to go to. Yeah. Because like if you have heart issues, you go to this one. And if you have, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it makes sense.
We haven't done that in the US, but wouldn't it be cool? Like the hot spring we have right here in Salt Lake, it's really special and we're learning about it, but we don't know all that much yet.
I've only been to one in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. It was, like everybody in my like mom's side of the family has like a hot tub, right?
Yeah.
So like that kind of therapy, I guess you could call it.
Oh, hot water is so good for us.
Yeah.
And especially when it's heated in Mama Earth and you get to soak in it. They're just, to me, they're all just beautiful, sacred places that can be taken care of and honored. And yeah, I mean, you really do change when you're in that water.
Yeah, we call it the think tank because like the things that go on in there.
Yes, it's different, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and when we come together with people soaking, especially in like natural hot springs, there's just something that's so primal and so human. It's like we're all equals. We're just
Yeah.
human family in the water. And I know in Iceland, hot springs are a deep part of the fabric of their whole culture. It's like everybody soaks together. I mean, can you imagine how political divisions could dissolve and how we could see each other differently when we're healing together and we're in the soup? You
Oh, I love
know,
that.
let's just get in the soup and
Oh my God.
remember.
How could I forget? I almost forgot. I want to hear like what your favorite food and or recipe is.
Oh man, I'm not a foodie.
What do you eat every day? What's your go-to? Something.
You know, my go-to is fruit. I am such a fan of fruit.
What's your favorite
They're
fruit?
high on my bliss list. You know, raspberries, mangoes, pineapple, peaches, they're all just utter bliss to me. I don't need a recipe because fresh and raw is just the best.
All right.
It's
Got
the
it. Do you like
best.
them together or separate?
Oh yeah, all of it.
Together?
Berries, the whole, yeah, festive. Just put
Color.
me in a pool of fruit.
Love it. Thank you for that. I was like, I
Yeah.
forgot that question.
How about you, Jennifer? What's your favorite?
I would say, honestly, fruit is one of my favorite things. Like I did the Anthony William Medical Medium Cleanse.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
And that kind of like brought me into like healing, a couple of things, but mostly like it helped me lose weight. And I just realized, because like when I was younger, I guess, your taste buds change or whatever it is, but I didn't really like fruit.
Oh,
I'd eat a banana here or there, but then when I did the medical medium cleanse, I felt like I could live on fruit.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how he really highlights and reveres a food one at a time that you can really get to know. And I love that.
And I
Yeah.
think more of like gifts, like more of the food itself, like the conversations you could have over food or breaking through, barriers, like when you're sitting down with somebody, maybe from a different culture even, and you're able to taste
Yeah.
like what they've learned from their love that they've learned from generation to generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a part of it.
Yeah. It's such a grounded part of our lives.
Mhm.
And yeah, which reminds me, there's a lot of food in the inquiry deck. So I don't know if you noticed. Can you tell what that is?
What delights me, that is, hold on one second. Is it a peach?
Yeah.
Let me
It's,
move it.
I'll tell you, but you can guess if you want.
Is it pineapple?
Yes,
Yay!
you guessed it. This one's easy.
This is mango.
No,
No?
I thought it was easy. I guess it's easy for me because I made it and I know. What's the joke? What's the fruit of jokes? The joke fruit.
Jackfruit?
No, it's bananas.
Oh, I didn't notice. Now I see it.
Yeah. And then we have this one, which also has food. What's the healthy choice? We got some oranges on the tree there.
I thought of orange and just like the different levels of consciousness. I was thinking, I'm like, of course she picked that one because I think I'm, green and orange are like somewhere where I live sometimes.
Yes.
I'm playing
Oh,
around.
and here's another one. Gosh, I have a lot of food in here. I didn't realize so much until we started talking.
Pomegranate?
Yes, you got it. Yeah. There's lots of. How about one more? One more to finish.
That's so cool. This is kiwi.
Yes.
And that looks delicious. I'm getting thirsty.
Yeah, I'm not actually. Oh, I think it might be a strawberry. I'm not actually sure in this moment. Yes. So this is like what we're used to seeing every day, but from a different perspective.
Beautiful.
Yes, it's a pomegranate, but it's also a heart.
Oh.
Yeah.
And for me, it looks like chakras.
Good. Yes, that too. Yes.
All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour, but we didn't get into one more question I had. I hope you're okay with and you have time for.
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to talk about different modalities of dance and music and how that helps with healing or what that's meant to you.
Oh, sweet. Well, as a feminine soul, music and movement and dance are really, really put me in my essence. I think that's true for many of us. So, yeah, I discovered dance 30 some years ago, and it just rocked my world and changed my whole relationship to myself. And I think it was really discovering that I'm an ecstatic. That's what I'm born for. I think many of us are. So I just engaged with what we could call authentic movement or ecstatic dance back before we had that title, and of course it's been around thousands and hundreds of thousands. As long as we've had bodies, probably we were watching the world around us and moving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a primary practice for me. And for me, it's much more about just honoring and trusting what moves me. And those things are so unique to us. I think I love dance and forms of dance and choreography. That's all great. But for me, I'm more of a free spirit. And so where I really thrive is just finding my own spontaneous movement in the moment. And over 30 years, I've lost a lot of self-consciousness.
Beautiful.
I don't have that sense anymore. And I would say even just this year, it's like I landed in my body in a whole new way through movement. And it's like Rumi says, he has lots of beautiful quotes about dance. I mean, I don't know if you knew this, but Rumi was actually whirling as he was saying his poetry. He wasn't sitting down and writing poetry. This is what I understand. He was in the ecstatic whirling, and then he was saying these things, and scribes were writing them down.
So
that's
in the state.
He was in it. Yeah. So when he says dance when you're broken open, dance when the wound is, it's this beautiful dance when you're perfectly free. It's that movement can always tap us into the flow of life.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's accessible anytime.
Mm-hmm. And just one more question. I'm sorry. I'm just curious your perspective on this. Somebody asked last night, like, as a like when there's certain participants that were in the room, and when he opened his eyes when they were in a meditative state, he kind of noticed that people were like rocking. And he like, is that part of the process? Like, are we doing like wondering, and
am I doing it right?
Yeah, like, or why are we all kind of synchronously,
isn't that beautiful?
kind of moving together?
Like reeds in the wind. Yeah. Oh, because we're alive, because we're conscious, because it's like the creation story of one of the modalities of craniosacral therapy was a therapist who it was his job to hold the tissue around the spinal cord still during surgery, and it wouldn't hold still. It was always moving. And then at some point he realized, oh, like this is the cranial wave. Right? So when things are not stuck or blocked, we're always moving.
Yeah, I knew it. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So how cool is that?
Beautiful.
And then we're taught to hold still, when we're kids. Sit in that chair and don't move.
Hey. Right. Well, I just want to thank you for your time. I know it's divine that we've connected. And I thank you. I thank God. I thank, just you seeing the posts and being able to share with me and the gracious community. And I just want to ask as a finishing question, since we love questions, is there anything on your heart maybe that we didn't touch on, or something that is coming to you that you just want to share?
Oh, thank you for that question. I think I would just invite everyone to ask the question, what do I love about myself? I think that's one we could ask a lot. What do I love about myself today, in this moment?
What do you love about yourself?
I love that I'm willing to share publicly, even though that hasn't come easily for me. How about you?
I thought that I love that I'm able to love you.
You love that you're able to love whoever you're with, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for offering what you offer. It's a beautiful service.
Appreciate you and can't wait to connect with you further.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, much love.
Much love. Thank you, everyone. And remember, the first person to put in the comments, if you're interested in the deck for Christmas as my gift to you, the first person who comments will get that as well. And is there anything else you're offering that we could share?
Right now I do have everything in the Inquiry store is 10% off at the moment. So inquirycards.com, it's a coupon code Heart Gift.
Heart Gift. Okay. And I'll put that in the caption.
Heart Gift. Yeah, great.
Beautiful.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.